Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. All right, welcome back to episode 35 of the Near Memo with David, Mike, and me, Greg Sterling, and we're excited to be talking to you about everything that happened in the week of search, social, and commerce with a local twist, angle, lens, inflection. As always, tons and tons going on. It's always hard to sort of select these topics because there's so many interesting things to talk about. But first, Mike is going to talk about some of the Google shopping related announcements that came out yesterday, I believe.
Right. So
specifically Lens,
right? So Lens came out a number of years ago, and it has evolved using Google's Vision AI to be very good at identifying whatever's in the visual frame of reference. It literally will give you a singular answer when you drop an image in there. And it's gotten very good at that, but it's never been tied into a more complete search query where you can ask questions or shop around it. With the announcement of Mum at the Google I/O, they've developed a AI that integrates language and images into a singular sort of experience. And they're talking about doing that with Lens. And so you can, for example, in iOS, you'll see a new button in the Google app that you can make all the images on the page is searchable through Google Lens. And then they can deliver them back in a shopping experience or whatever. And you can add, my understanding is you can add context to the image and enhance your search as well. So, the search results have been coming more visual, and Google's Vision AI has gotten better over the last few years. But now they're sort of merging sort of the written and the spoken word with the image for a new experience. And I think, to me, it's not significant in the specific of it, but in the arc of it. So I would open it to you for your comments.
I think that's a good take in the parlance of our time. I think that as with many features that Google rolls out, right, you never know which one is really going to hit. But I think that that directionally, I totally agree with you that it signals Google's overarching commitment to images as a key piece of the search or visuals even as a key piece of the search experience. And I think it's something that from our standpoint or at least Mike and yours and my background as sort of traditional SEOs, I think that our industry as a whole radically underemphasizes images and videos in the search experience and the conversion experience.
In the ranking experience.
In the ranking experience, and that this should be another wake-up call to really think about how strong a role or how large a role images play.
Well, and just from a consumer standpoint, I mean, people repeatedly value images and value video in making decisions. So there's that side of it as well. It's like just in catering to the customer and their needs, delivering a better experience.
There's I guess experimental, but it's been around for quite a while, that if you do a search on a product in a local market, Google under the pack will surface a search by images interface, and it's a totally visual. It's a Pinteresty like interface where you click in and you see panels. All you see is the star rating. You don't see anything more. A picture and the star rating of the business name. Totally visual interface to local, to products, to items. And it's not been written about hardly at all. And yet to me, it's really part and parcel of this bigger trend. And going to impact local as much as more maybe than it impacts anything else. And it's an area too, like David pointed out, the businesses, you look at pictures and it's like, oh my God, they're terrible. They're absolutely disgusting. They let customers upload the total crap. They never report them. They don't, it's clip.
Well, you've got a sort of I don't know what to call it. It's a kind of an image SEO, suppress the negative customer images by flooding the zone with all your professionally produced, good looking pictures. I mean, that's going to be something that people need to pay more attention to.
Yeah, and one of the things I've learned in playing with the images over the last couple of months is Google ranks the top 10 images that they want to show. You can, I mean, they're ranking everything, and they are ranking images. And so it's critical that, that you do that. But so I just see it as the biggest trend in local that, as David points out, has gone largely unappreciated. Although there were at least 2 talks at White Sparks conference this week about images and the importance of doing them in local. So I think that's beginning to change.
And even in my presentation, which wasn't explicitly about images, one of the questions was, how do you optimize images for Google? So it's maybe something that business owners are, sort of have a sixth sense for, or at least the savvier ones do. But I think, as marketers, we tend to focus on, reviews and title tags and site architecture and internal links. And, meanwhile, the first thing that customers look at on their homepage, in air quotes, on Google is the image. So just start to pay more attention to that would be a good takeaway.
The interesting thing about the last local search ranking factors is that Darren, you had the traditional ranking factors, which of course is derivative of the work that you originally did, David. But then he did conversion factors, right? So that was an interesting thing. What was getting people sort of across the threshold? And I don't think images, reviews are all in the top 3, I think. But I suspect that images will make their way up that list eventually, because I do think that they're an important conversion factor. Couple of last kind of comments. So Snapchat, Snap, Pinterest, as you mentioned, Mike, Amazon, also doing visual search to varying degrees. I mean, Amazon introduced a visual search tool years ago, and they seem to have done not much with it. It's sort of there. You can search barcodes, you can look pointed at objects, and it's pretty good. It doesn't seem to have materially changed from what I can tell. I don't use it that much, but I use it sometimes. Pinterest, I think, is pretty good, very much like what you describe in the Google Lens shopping experience. And I'm not really a Snapchat user, although my kids are. But they're definitely doing a visual search kind of play as well. So consistent with what you're saying. And there's no
segue.
Good,
no
there's
good
no
segue
good.
here.
Let me come up with one. When I'm looking for a restaurant.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.